Welcome back to Barron's New Vegas Gun Guide, and this is the first episode of a new category of guns, shotguns. Starting with the dinkiest looking one and the simplest one, the humble single shotgun, chambered in 20 gauge. Based off the Harrington and Richardson partner in 20 gauge, the single shotgun is a simple weapon. In fact, there's probable argument to be made that the single shotgun is based on another break-action single shotgun. It's just that simple. But in this case, I'll talk about the H&R gun, which has some interesting history, especially with our old cowboy weapons. It started with Frank Wesson, which is the brother of Daniel Wesson, who is the Wesson in Smith & Wesson. And that's all started in 1859. The firm made pocket pistols, rifles, and shotguns until 1871 when Gilbert Harrington, which was Frank Wesson's nephew, joined him. And he ended up buying out Wesson in 1874 and then meeting up with this man named Richardson a little bit later down the line. But it was in 1871 that they produced the single shotgun for the first time. Shotgun cartridges were very new at the time, the first being made only the 1860s. Now, the choice to make a single shotgun is a bit strange, considering that double-barrel designs have had nearly a century of popularity in black powder at that point in time. But although that was the case, the single shotgun did enjoy good sales on its simplicity, being half as complicated as a double-barreled shotgun. Now, sadly for the single shotgun, its popularity really didn't stay. In 1890, a new type of shotgun started to appear, the pump-action shotgun. And while the pump-action shotgun was more expensive, many of the folks who could afford it switched over. Now, especially armies did this, who then brought the idea to the attention of more and more of the civilian market, where the double-barreled shotgun still remained popular, and it still remains popular to this day. Now, to cover my bases with shotguns, one definition. The gauge. What does that mean? Well, the gauge of a shotgun is referring how many lead balls of the bore diameter or barrel diameter it takes to equal 1 pound. Hence why a higher gauge is a smaller barrel and a lower gauge is a bigger barrel. With that in mind, it's easy to see how a 12 gauge shotgun versus a 20 gauge shotgun works in terms of damage. The 12 gauge shotgun is firing bigger pellets with much more powder behind it versus the 20 gauge simply because it can fit more in a 2 3/4 inch shell or a 3 inch or a 3.5 inch shell. The single shotgun, despite its simplistic and basic nature, does the most damage in a single shot out of any 20 gauge shotgun, which is good since it only has one shot. At 50 damage per shot and 7 projectiles per shot, each pellet does 7.1. which is before the innate 20% damage boost you get out of a 20 gauge round. So really, it's 60 damage with about 8.4 damage per pellet. In DPS form, this is 128.6 damage base and 154.32 with the 20% boost. But this is DPS if it could fire at full fire rate, which is 2.6 attacks per second, with a full magazine. But again, it's a single shotgun. It fires a single round. Because of that, it can never reach that full DPS. Especially with the base reload of 2 seconds, it makes its adjusted DPS quite sad at 20.9 base damage, with about 25.1 with the 20% from the standard ammo. Now in VATS, it is ridiculously expensive. 45 AP per shot on top of the reload AP cost, which is a fixed 10 AP with no perks or traits. So 55 AP per shot gives an efficiency of only 0.9 damage per AP base and 1.1 damage with the 20% damage boost. As for crit damage and chance, the crit chance multiplier is 1 time percent and calculated for the whole shot when you fire it. But the crit damage of 7 is applied to every projectile when you get a crit, if they all hit. Now, despite being a shotgun, accuracy isn't actually that much of an issue. It has one of the best spreads in terms of tightness of any shotgun at 1.4, which is not bad, really. Now, the standard ammo, due to the crit damage, is best for crit builds, since you have the most amount of shots. However, it does run into issues with armor, as that damage of only 14 is still not enough to get through some heavier armors, especially power armor. In that regard, slugs are better for penetrating. And now that we've beat around the bush enough, we should probably get to talking about ammo. Now, there's a variety of Masterson brand 20 gauge on display, and the Gunrunner's Arsenal variants add a huge amount of flexibility to the 20 gauge, but they will be covered in their own video. For now, it's just the standard base game rounds. Now, the first is the one we've talked about the most, the standard 7 pellet round that deals 1.2 times base damage, and costing a very affordable 1 cap per round. There is another version of this round called the Magnum Round, which costs 2 caps per round. It does 1.3 times listed damage. It subtracts 2 from the enemy damage threshold, but comes at a cost of 15% more damage to the gun condition. And then finally, there's the Slug Rounds, at again 1 cap per round, exceptionally cheap. And they only do 100% of base damage, but concentrate it all into one projectile, punching through armor and tightening the spread to about 0.5, or reduces it to 35% of what it was. That being said, the crit damage does not change for slugs, so if you were to hit an enemy with a slug and a crit, that's only 57 damage, without any mods or without any perks. So, it's a bit of a trade-off, but it does let you penetrate with a gun, and it gives a lot more versatility to having one weapon. And now that we've jumped the shark a bit with talking about ammo, let's get back to the single shotgun. It's very cheap, 175 caps, and it can shoot 995 shots of standard ammo or 865 shots of Magnum rounds. Exceptionally good value for money, if the courier's body can survive the shooting delay. The single shotgun is definitely a starter's weapon, having 0 guns requirement but a strength requirement of 5, which you might ask, where's that from? Well, at 7 weight, it's hefty, but not back-breaking. Now, being a starter's gun, it's not too hard to get, especially since in Good Springs you can basically get it right out of the gate. Since Sunny Smiles and Trudy's house, you can find one, which, especially if you haven't started their little quest line, they won't leave the saloon, so their house is empty, so you can just steal it. But if you do have a problem with the small karma loss, all the drag gangers can use this gun. You've got Recruit Legionaries, West Side Militia, Fiends, almost all gun vendors sell it, even the Vendatron. It's pretty ubiquitous in the early game. But all in all, the gun is great on a budget, but quickly gets demoted into jury-rigging fodder for bigger bolt, lever, or pump-action guns, which is something it's pretty good at if it didn't weigh so much. But having a few of these in spare, or buying them just in case you can't find that repair kit and you really need to fix a big gun you have, they definitely fill that niche very well. All in all, making them useful in their own way throughout the game, but definitely due to the fact that they lack a magazine of any considerable size, they are not meant for firing at big things that might kill you. Small offensive enemies, animal control, that's where it really shines. At the end of the day, it is just a single shotgun. You can't really expect great things. Thanks for watching. See you next time.